episode has been brought to you by Schedulicity.
Hello and welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast. It's so great to have you here today. If you're new here, I'm your host, Shannon Crow. I've been teaching yoga for over 15 years while raising my 3 kids who, by the way, now are quickly becoming young adults, and they've also been my best teachers through the years. I've learned a lot as an entrepreneur and as a yoga teacher. At one point, I was teaching 16 yoga classes a week, managing a yoga studio, running a yoga school, and a Thai yoga massage business. And you can imagine, I got to the point of burnout, mentally, physically, but also financially. And I learned the hard way that the more you work, that doesn't mean that you then earn more. When I finally figured out how to niche down and build a full-time business, other yoga teachers started to notice and ask me how they could do the same. And so that's when I started working one-on-one with yoga teachers. And I realized that so many yoga teachers had questions and the same questions. And I thought, how could we bring this out to more yoga teachers, where we can really dig into the questions around building a sustainable business rooted in the teachings of yoga. And that's when this podcast was born. Each and every week, I try and find guests or bring you topics to help you to feel connected to the information and inspiration that's going to support you as you grow your own very unique yoga business. And in this, something a lot of us, me included, but all of us as humans, we often struggle with a work-life balance. And I've heard so many viewpoints on whether this really is a balance. What I want to dig into today in this episode is that we all have so many things to do in our yoga business. You know, we're teaching classes, we're marketing, we're advertising, we're finding ways to attract new students. We're doing our accounting, all of the admin that comes with it. And then most of us are juggling other responsibilities, maybe parenting, doing household chores. Maybe we have a part-time job, maintaining relationships with family and friends. Maybe we're volunteering in our community or caring for other people. And on top of all of this, we're all living in pandemic times, which no one in our circle of the world has lived through a pandemic. And that creates new challenges, like maybe we're working from home more, or homeschooling, or canceling the bookings that we normally have out in the world. And I want to tell you, just listing all of these things makes me feel a little bit overwhelmed. And that has been happening in my own life, in my own business. And it's no wonder that I'm hearing it from other yoga teachers. Like, how can I balance this out? You know, is it a myth? Is this something I should be striving for? And this is why I'm so excited that you get to hear from Dawn Vason on this topic today. Now, this is a live show that we did back in January of 2021, where Dawn really dove in and shared and answered your questions. Some of you were there live. And if you feel like, I want to watch the whole video with all of the live comments and questions, we'll make sure to link to it in the show notes. But we also wanted to bring it onto the podcast today so that you can listen while you're on the go, because I know you're busy. That's why you've chosen to listen to today's episode. And maybe you're not busy. Maybe you've got it all figured out, and maybe you're looking for the questions and the challenges that your yoga students have. And so I would say take this all in and see how you can bring it into your own life, your own practice, and then possibly you might share some of these things with your yoga students. We love it when you share the podcast. So you can find the link at theconnectedyogateacher.com/213 and share that with your friends, maybe your yoga students, other yoga teachers. And I just want to say a huge thank you if you take the time to do that with today's episode. Dawn really understands this, and she shares with us some of her tips around planning time for both life and work, and how to build a business while raising a family, particularly in this time of homeschooling. Dawn has been homeschooling for years by choice, So we get to hear from her of what's working. We also get a bit vulnerable and talk about that mom guilt or parenting guilt that can happen to all of us. And we dig into what it really takes to balance work, your business, parenting, and all of the different pieces of your life. If you have been wondering, how can I feel less hurried and worried about life? How can I feel more calm and more organized? This episode is for you. And because we know that you are busy, we take the notes for you for each and every episode. And like I said, today's episode you can find over at theconnectedyogateacher.com/213. All of the links are there. And also there are clickable timestamps. So if you think, oh, I just want to go back to that one point and jot a few things down, you can easily skip around and find the topic that you're looking for. And that's really thanks to our entire team over here. So Suzanne is busy working away at editing the audio, taking out my little blips where I repeat myself over and over again, just trying to get the words out. And then Crunch takes it and makes all of the show notes. And on podcast day, Sinead goes through that and makes sure that it's all up on our website for you. If you're curious about our team and wondering how you can work with a team like this, maybe the exact people on our team, they're over on our website. If you go to theconnectedyogateacher.com, look under About and look for our team there. Now, before we get into today's episode, I want to say a couple of thank yous. One is to Amanda Erickson. Thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing this comment on the show notes page for episode 190 with Kelly Smith. Kelly talked to us about creating guided meditations. I really appreciate that you took the time to share this, and I wanted to share it on the podcast. So Amanda says, thank you, Shannon. What I have always loved about you is your courage to say, I don't know, and then to follow up with, let's learn more. I feel like this podcast is the perfect way to take me along your learning journey. Your willingness to show up as you is so inspirational. You always manage to ask the questions I need to hear the answers to. I'm so glad I listen. It truly helps me feel connected to other yogis and highlights that the search for knowledge is a connected thing. Oh my goodness, Amanda, this really summarizes what I intend for the podcast. So I am so glad that you feel connected to other yoga teachers and to a community in this, and also that it's inspiring that I just show up as me. I hope that yoga teachers do this. People are not looking at us to have all of the answers. That's what I've learned over the years. And lately, I've been thinking that there's a lot of value in having more questions than answers. Try it out. Try it out today to talk with someone, and maybe it's a challenge to talk with this person sometimes, and try and see what happens when you ask more questions. Now, in order to ask questions, you really have to listen. And I feel like for me, this has been a practice. The podcast helps me do that, but I also do it in my own daily life. And it can be harder, when the busyness of life is happening around us. So thank you so much for sharing this, Amanda. I hope that everyone can embrace the not knowing, because honestly, the more I learn, the more questions I have, the more I feel like I really don't know anything. I also want to give a huge shout out of thanks to the team over at Schedulicity for keeping my calendar organized. We're going to talk all about organization today in this work-life balance episode. And I want to say, the team over at Schedulicity has been keeping my calendar organized since 2011 when I discovered their software. So let's hear the hot tip of the week from the team over there.
Hey Connected Yoga teachers, this is Allison with the Schedulicity Hot Tip of the Week. Shannon let us know that some of you have been asking about linking Schedulicity with your Google Calendar. Let's walk through that connection now. Once you've logged in with your admin account, head to Settings and open the Providers/Instructors page. Choose your name from the list, and under the Calendar Share header, move that No slider to Yes. Select and copy the full URL that appears in the text field. Next, sign into your Google account and click on the grid box at the top right of the page where you will select the calendar option. Click on the small plus button on the right of the Add Calendars area. Now, choose the option that says From URL and paste your generated link from Schedulicity there. Click Add Calendar and you're good to go. Google generally pushes their calendar share updates once a day, so you may see up to a 24-hour delay in your schedule changes. Also, keep in mind that this is a one-way share in which your Schedulicity appointments will be visible from your Google Calendar, but not vice versa. You may want to work out of your Schedulicity account to avoid double booking yourself just in case.
Thank you so much, Team Schedulicity. Alrighty, let's dive in and meet Dawn. Dawn Vason is a mindset and manifestation coach and yoga teacher. After some personal challenges, which she shares in today's episode, that her and her husband faced, Dawn turned to holistic study and discovered the power of healthy habits and plant-based remedies. In order to share what she's learned with others, she created JaviWellness, holistic health and plant-based solutions. Dawn is also passionate about helping mothers balance life and business and attract success while practicing good self-care. In line with that, she launched Holistically Whole, health and wellness coaching for women. And as a success and self-care coach, she empowers and equips women to practice self-care and manifest success. In addition to her business ventures, Dawn is also a mother to 4 children whom she homeschools. Want to find out how she balances all aspects of her life? Let's get into today's interview. Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast, Dawn. It's great to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much, Shannon. It's wonderful to be here. I'm excited to share with the group.
Me too. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I'm excited because this new year's just got this new energy, and I'm just pumped about it. And it's just carrying on each day, and I'm just loving it. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I feel like I've got one foot like diving into this new year and one foot kind of like, oh, remember that slow holiday mode?
Sure. I totally get it.
That's why I'm excited that we get to talk about balance today. Dawn, tell us about the work that you do and who you do it for.
Oh, yes. So I am Dawn Vason. I am a holistic life coach and, of course, yoga teacher. I actually kind of stumbled upon this business, I guess I should say, or this genre, however we want to put it. I kind of stumbled on it about 10 years ago. My husband had a brain aneurysm, and it was all of a sudden our life like drastically changed. And at the same time, I actually found out I had fibromyalgia, and I found out I was pregnant, like all at the same time. And so it's hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got to get my life together if I want to live forever. So it was that at that point, we began to kind of make shifts and changes for our lives. I actually ended up joining It Works Global Multi-Level Marketing Company, which I had lots of fun there. And then I realized I want to do more. So in January of 2020, I launched a life coaching business. And I've just been having so much fun connecting with amazing women, amazing mamas who want more, who want to attract wealth and wellness. And it's just been such a fun ride to just love on them and meet them where they are and give them all the goods that I've got to share. So that's kind of what I do for a living.
That's amazing. Well, I saw Laura, shout out to Laura. Thanks for your post somewhere on Facebook. Someone asked like, who do you recommend as a life coach? And that's where your name came up in that post. And once I got digging in, I thought, oh, wow, this is some fascinating work that you're doing. And I love that you're also a yoga teacher and you look at, and you've had your personal story with finding that work-life balance. I mean, that's a lot. How many kids do you now have?
We have 4 kids. And it's funny, when my husband had the aneurysm, we only had one. And I actually found out the hour that he was laying on the operating table, I found out I was pregnant with our second child.
Oh my goodness. What a lot to take in.
It was a lot to take in. And it's so funny because life just teaches us that it's not about what you have. It's about your ability to be resourceful and your ability to overcome the obstacles that you get hit with. And I got hit with a ton at one time. And I realized at that point, it's a holistic thing. My physical body was suffering as a result of fibromyalgia. My mentality was struggling as a result of my husband being in rehab for almost 2 months. Life just kind of got crazy, and it just got to a point where I just had to figure out how to make sense of it all so that I didn't lose my mind or lose my cool.
Okay. So I love that you're coming from a place of like where you were definitely finding challenges in life, and then you've learned along the way, and now you're helping other people. And I'm so excited that you're here today, because a lot of our connected yoga teachers have been asking, like, how do I balance out my life and my work? And I just want to get your thoughts on that, because I've also heard some people say, it's kind of a myth that you can find a balance. So I want to hear, what are your thoughts on that?
It's so funny that you asked that. I actually was just asked this by a client earlier this week, and they're like, do you think it's possible to find balance? And I agree and I disagree to a lot of, there's a small margin of error there. I do believe we can find balance. However, I do believe that we kind of always need to seek balance, right? And just like tipping a scale, if I'm doing a science experiment and I've got a scale, I have to constantly kind of play with it just a little bit to make sure that it levels out. And then once it levels out, of course, something happens. The wind hits it, and it tips a little bit more. So for in my mind, in the way that I coach and the way that I teach and the way that I show up, is balance is achievable, but it's a constant kind of give and take for it, right? And we constantly have to readjust things as they come up. And I think where the disconnect is that we, like most times, we imagine it as a destination, and it's not a destination, it's a journey. Life is a journey. Our balance is a journey. Things happen in our lives. And I believe they say that, I think every 6 months, someone has a life-changing event. Something drastic happens in your life that totally uproots how you've been living, how you've been working, how you've been functioning on all levels, right? And so if we are constantly kind of keeping that in mind and having this awareness of, oh, wait, it's getting a little off balance here, let me fix it. When we keep that into consideration, we're able to level it off. So yes, I do believe it's possible, but it's also every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every year. You've got to work on rebalancing and finding out what's going to work well as your life changes and your system needs to adjust.
Okay, this is so good that it's not this destination. We're not going to hit a day where we're like, my life is in total balance and I don't have to do this work anymore. Okay. So what are some of the things that have helped you, because you're a busy mom, you're a yoga teacher, you're running a business, you have a life outside of your work? What are some of the things that, like, the real juicy bits that maybe we can learn from and try out in our own life and in our own business?
Yeah, so I think my realization and where I really kind of begin to get a handle on it was when I realized that it has to be systems over schedules and goals. And that's kind of the gist of it, right? We set goals. Hey, I want to be great in my business. Hey, I want to clean my house. Hey, I'd love to spring clean this closet. And we set these goals, but without the proper system to go with that, we tend to kind of run into more obstacles. We tend to have this time where we can go off course a bit. And so for me, what I do is a system. I used to live by a schedule, right? Like, oh, every morning we're going to get up and we're going to have breakfast and we're going to have circle time. And because I've been homeschooling for 8 years, like a crazy person. So I had this like thought in my mind, this is how the day is going to go. And, it doesn't really work out that way. So actually about 5 years ago, I kind of came up with a system that kind of combines time blocking with goal setting and just having this idea of this checklist. And so for me, each week, at the beginning of each week, every Sunday, I sit down and I schedule out my week. I look at Sunday to Sunday and I figure out what's got to go. And the first question that I ask myself is, what can I not move? What's there? What's set in stone? And we're talking doctor's appointments. We're talking this lovely podcast, all of these appointments that you have that are set. You can't change them. You can't do anything else with that time. It's in there. So I put them on there. That's the first thing that I do. The second thing that I do is I find what I call pockets of time. Because the truth of the matter is, we always say, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. I have so many things to do. But in reality, in a 24-hour period, how much of that time is genuinely devoted to a particular project or task that we need to do? Not all of it. We kind of exaggerate by saying I don't have the time, because really we do. And so what it comes down to is having those pockets of time. I tend to not schedule anything in those pockets of time. So sometimes I'm like, I go through this, am I full enough? Am I working enough? And no, there's appointments in there. My schedule book is full. I've got all of my filled appointments that are already earmarked. And then with the pockets of time, I'm able to, hey, once I get off this call, I've got a pocket of time. What can I do in a pocket of time? Maybe 15 minutes for laundry, maybe 15 minutes to clean the bathroom, maybe 10 minutes to feed the cats. Actually, when I get off of this call, I have to help my third grader write a history report record. And I know it's going to take me about 15 minutes to get him set up. So I'm going to spend 15 minutes to get him set up. And then with the other time in that hour, say I've got 3 tasks that I want to do within the hour, that last 15 minutes I have that I can maybe do something for my business, maybe just have a minute to breathe. And so I work through this kind of day where it's a 15 to 30 minute increment. And I just fit what can be done in that. I think there's a list somewhere that says it's a list of 1-minute tasks. And this is kind of where the idea started. Things that we can do in a minute. I can throw a load of laundry in the washing machine in a minute. I could run bath water for the toddler in a minute. I could take out, the sandwich that I made earlier this morning in a minute. And there's all of these little tasks, and we're really not using our time in the wisest way. The time's there. We're not pulling extra hours out. And we always say, oh, I wish there were more than 24 hours. No, we don't. We'd go crazy. We really don't. We deep down, we think that because we feel like we're not having the time. But the truth is, how wisely are we using that time? And so in these particular times, if there's a week there, I have a lot that's going on. Maybe that's a week that I've got to delete Facebook off my phone so I don't get distracted. And there's certain habits that you create. One of my biggest habits that's changed so many things for me is I don't sleep with my phone anywhere near my bed. I don't sleep with it in the room. If I can help it, I'd keep it downstairs on the charger, so that the first thing that I do when I wake up is spend time. And of course, we're yoga teachers, right? We should spend that time in meditation or on the mat or doing some pranayama and bringing on all of the peace that's going to help us get through our day. And that peace is going to keep us in the right frame of mind. It's going to physically keep us motivated and energized and feeling good. And we're going to be in this emotional place like, I've got it. We're going to talk to ourselves with love. And there's so many things that happen from figuring out how to be productive in our day. And
This is amazing. What did you say? Sorry, I missed that last piece.
We can't figure out how to be productive because we're just looking at the time like, oh my gosh, what do I do with it? We've got to use it. And we got to use it the right way and be strategic about it.
This is so good. I want to pull out some of the things. So some of the things I heard you say was looking at goals and kind of really re-examining that. And I like how we're doing that in terms of just being in this fresh new year. If you're listening in real time, it's 2021, the very start of it. And a lot of the time we can start to put those goals. So instead you were saying, let's look at, what was the wording? Systems.
Goals. Mm-hmm. And so I actually talk about this in my book. It's called The Productive Entrepreneur. And we talk about 4 pillars of productivity. And so this idea of having systems over goals, it's, okay, here's what happens. And this is a mental thing, right? I'm sure you've heard the quote, our body can take just about anything. It's our minds we've got to wrap around it. Mindset is the first thing. And this is one of the reasons why I like to be a mindset and manifestation coach as well, because it starts with our mindset. And if we can wrap our minds around it, then everything goes smoothly. That mind-body connection is so strong that if I stick two of my hands out and I pretend one's holding feathers and the other one's holding books, I'm going to feel more weight in the arm that I feel is holding books. That's how strong the mind-body connection is. And so what we do is we strategically shift our focus from, oh, I want to have 100 subscribers by the end of the year, right? Great goal. Well, what happens if we're 3 months into it and you haven't had one subscriber? You get discouraged. You get really discouraged because you're like, well, dag nabbit, I'm not reaching these goals like I want to. And so what we do is we develop a system to hit the milestones so that we check off those milestones. So maybe we didn't hit the big goal yet, but guess what? I hit this little goal, this little one, and I'm feeling pretty good as I hop from lily pad to lily pad because I'm checking other things off. And so what happens is when we project ourselves to look at the goal, we look at the end of it. And we get discouraged because the end is far. Oh my gosh, like I gotta ride this bike all of these miles. It's so far. But when we think about, well, maybe I just got to get to this pit stop. If I just get to the pit stop, if I just get to the checkpoint, then I've got enough oomph to go to the next one. And so that's why I encourage my clients and those that follow me, let's do a system over a goal. Yes, we'll set the goal, but what's the system? How are we going to get there? And more importantly, what are the tasks that we can do to make that we can control that'll make us feel like we're doing something? One of the things that I used to teach when I was really big with It Works was I had a lot of people like, oh, I'd love to sign up 3 customers today. That sounds great as a goal. However, we can't control how other people spend their money. We can't go in and pull their cards out their wallets. Like we can't do that. What can we control? Well, I can control that I'm going to reach out to 10 people today and say, hey, I got yoga classes. I can't control that 3 people bought it, but I can control that I talked to 10 people. And so we set goals and things that we can control. So when we knock them off, we get pumped for the next level. And that's why it's systems over goals. That system takes you from step to step. So you stay pumped, you stay motivated, and you make it all work out.
Oh, this is so good. I love the 2 examples that you used in terms of yoga teachers, growing our email list and getting more students. These are 2 things that I know our teachers have their eye on right now. And you're right. We can't make more people sign up for our classes, but we could put those other, I love how you called them lily pads in place. So that's part of the system. Can you just clarify for me? Let's say our big goal, and I love how you use the analogy of the biking. That seems really far and it's a long distance. If that big goal is to get like 1,000 new subscribers on our email list, what is the system then that you might suggest to someone?
That's a really good question. So email list, and I think we all kind of know, we've all heard the word funnel. We've all heard about the freebie. We've all heard about the offer. And so what you do is you kind of hyperactive that offer. Here's an example. I have a digital download store where I sell ebooks and courses and pre-recorded videos. And this is where my passive income comes from. And so yesterday, I actually just recently graduated again from Happy Jack Yoga University with my 200-hour yoga certification just last month. And so I've kind of already been doing things even before this happened, which is another thing. You always want to project what's coming in the future. But the way that I did this was I had this book that I wrote a year and a half ago. I had marked it down a few times and I was like, I'd love to have 20 more subscribers on my email list today. How can I do that? And so I went into my digital store and I decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give everyone who graduated with me this discount and I'm going to give them this book for free. And so I posted it in the group. I gave them the discount for the book for free and I had 20 new email subscribers within an hour. So what we do is we figure out, and it's always about trying to figure out, well, what's going to make this work? What can I do that'll at least put me in that direction? And it's always about going in that direction. And we get so discouraged because we want to be at the end of that. Again, we want to be at the end of that, but we're getting discouraged because there's a path to that. And so the system that we create to do that is, how often am I going to talk about my freebie? I have a freebie that's a breathing exercise where can I put this freebie that people who need it are going to see it? And maybe that plan looks more like creating or changing the way that you're advertising it. Maybe you need a new picture to test out. Maybe you need to go to a different group and share what the offer is. And so it's literally about this kind of mind mapping where we're going to go without getting discouraged. And the discouragement comes in when we shoot too far. We're shooting too far. Oh no, I'm going to give up. It's just too much. So we shoot a little smaller, and the same system works with anything. If you want to grow your Instagram followers, right? You shoot really small, and you're going to target exactly. I'm going to teach you guys a little trick here, actually. If you're looking to grow your Instagram, you're going to target the followers. And so that means you show up where the people you want to find you are showing up. That's in the likes and the comments of other big yoga pages, right? That's in the likes and the comments of yoga blogs. That's in the likes and the comments in yoga groups. And so we go where the people are. Again, same system, different goal of growing a YouTube or growing an Instagram or growing an email list, but the system still remains the same. We just got to start a little smaller. And we like to dream big, right? We want to dream big. And yes, you should dream big. But the system is how you shrink it down so it's bite-sized chunks for you. We don't want to bite off too much so we can shoot, because then we're like, oh, I'm burnt out. And that's where the balance comes in. Because if we do too much, then we hit burnout, and then we're going to pause, and then our business is on the shelf for 6 months, and we're like, what happened?
Exactly. I'm so glad that you're so good at swinging it back around to the main topic, because I wanted to ask you, like, what is the system then? How do we bring these systems into finding balance in our life?
So part of it is there, and allow yourself grace to find what works for you. This was my biggest hang up, right? I was like, I want to balance my life, and it's not working the way she said it's supposed to balance. We take all of this, and it's going to be this trial and error period, just same as our practice and showing up on the mat. There's certain poses that you might have stayed away from until you were ready to go into that pose. And the same thing is with setting up the system. So for me in particular, my system is I wake up every morning somewhere between 3:30 and 6, depending on how late I stayed up. That's usually when I wake up. And I have a set morning routine. This is the first part. Create a morning routine. And this morning routine just kind of looks like this repetition of doing the same thing each day. For me, I live by the Miracle Morning Savers. So I spend time silence and in meditation, doing my affirmations. I do affirmations every day because it's definitely how you talk to yourself. I wrote a book on positive self-talk too, because that's the key. You have to talk to yourself like you can handle anything, or otherwise you can't. So that's step one. We'll go back. That's step one. Step two is creating the morning routine that's going to set you up for consistent. It's almost like creating that morning routine gets your brain and your body on the same page of this is what we do. Oh, this is what we do. Same with kids, right? With training our kids, potty training, getting them to eat broccoli. We've got to try out this thing and kind of have to have this repetition to it. So create the morning routine. For me, by the time I finish my morning routine, I'm ready to grab my phone. Remember, I don't sleep with my phone. So I usually grab my phone around 8 or so, and I have a little bit of time before my son has his first class at 9:10 a.m. as he's doing virtual this year. So I get up, I prep him, I get breakfast ready a little bit, and I'm spending time on my phone, checking my emails, checking notifications, or anything that's happened overnight. Then for me, this is exactly how my morning goes. I work until my phone dies. When it dies, that's my cue. I need to shift and do something else. I've worked enough that my phone died, because it's a full battery. It charged all night, right? It's charged all night. I put it, once it dies, it goes on the charger, and then I shift my focus to my kids, because I've got kids. And when you have kids, you run into mommy guilt because you want to run your business. You want to have your own life, but at the same time, you've got kids. They need our attention. They need our love. They need us to kiss on their boo-boos, watch a movie, whatever the case may be. And so my indication of it's time to shift gears is when my phone dies. Sometimes it lasts a little bit longer, and I don't put a time to that. It's not 11 a.m. every day I spend time with my kids. No, when my phone dies, I've worked enough because I wore the battery out, so I know I did enough. So let me put my phone on the charger and shift gears to my kids. And so then once I hang out with my kids, that's usually about enough time for a Disney movie, maybe a mid-morning snack. And then about that time they're finishing up the movie, my little girls, I've got a 4 and a 2-year-old, or 4 and almost 2-year-old, they're about ready for a nap. And so when they're ready to nap and they're getting all cozy and stuff, I go back and grab my phone because it's charged again. Now it's time to do some more work. And I go to my list of to-do things so that I stay focused and stay on track of what was listed for today to do. If I don't get to today's task, I move it to tomorrow, but I'm not going to do anything that's on next week's task because it's not important right now. And I need to do what's really urgent up front. And that comes with also ranking what it is that you need to do. So that's another really, really important thing. Rank what it is that you need to do. And I actually have a system in my Productive Entrepreneur course where we talk about ranking things into what requires immediate action, what requires immediate action for someone else, but it's not necessarily for you. So for me, that list might look like I got to make sure that my kids got a project done. It's an immediate task. It's not immediate for me, but it is immediate and it needs my attention right away. So it goes to the top half of that. Then the bottom half is things that I want to do, but they're not immediate. Not immediate. I want to do it, but it can wait. It's not that important. And so you end up with this grid, this 4-part grid of what you need to do up top that's important. Things for yourself, things for your business, things for your family or their appointments and things. And then down at the bottom, all that other stuff that if I get done with the top stuff, I'll come back to it. And so it's really creating that system that works for me. Then about that time, I'm hitting around 4, 5, usually around 4 or 5 p.m. I stop working my business for the day. My husband works overnight, so he usually leaves the house about 5 p.m. So I get his lunch ready, pack him, he leaves. And then the other half of the week, he's home. So I also don't want to be doing my business work because hubby's home and I want to spend time with my husband. So this is how we find the balance, you guys. We do have a personal life. If you have a spouse or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you do have this relationship. If you got kids, that's a whole nother relationship. And say you just love hanging out with your girls and you want to go out and have a drink once a month, that's another responsibility. And so in order to prioritize all of this, we got to look at the big picture again, and then create the steps to make sure that we get that done. So whatever the system looks like for you, I encourage you to first and foremost, take a look at your week. First thing you do, mark down everything that can't be moved. If you've got a 9 to 5, block out that time because you're at work. Don't be hard on yourself if you didn't write an email because you couldn't. You were at work. I couldn't do it at that time. That's the first thing I encourage you to do. Then with your pockets of time for a week, document it. Don't do anything. Don't book other stuff in there. Just write down what you do. I keep, when I notice that I'm getting off course, because this happens to me again, let's go back to the balance. I haven't figured it out, you guys. This is a constant recalibration for me, especially now that I'm in school. I kind of had to pause. And for a week, I took inventory of my time. What it means to take inventory of your time is have the sheet that looks like maybe every half an hour, maybe every 15 minutes, every hour, whatever works for you. I like to do 15 to 30 minutes because it's a little more detailed for me. But if I'm sitting here and I get off of this podcast at 1 p.m. and I happen to look up at my watch and, oh, it's 1:20. Well, what did I do for the past 20 minutes? Like, what did I do? I went to the bathroom. I sat and watched Netflix. And when you take inventory of the time that you're using and you're like, it's just like those subscriptions that we have on our phone. The bank shows us where we're spending $5 here, $8 here. This inventory shows you where you're spending 10 minutes here, 20 minutes here, where it can be eliminated. And then you find more time. And when you find more time, then you're able to strategically use it better. So that is what I suggest that you do for your system. Start with taking inventory of where your time is going. Figure out what a day looks like. Figure out where, oh my gosh, I lost 30 minutes and I don't really know where it went. If you keep track of that, you'll know. And I do it just super easy. I keep a Google Calendar on my phone. And when I need to take inventory, every time I think of it, I look at my phone and I see the last time that I documented what I did. So if I did laundry, I'll put laundry in here. then I put my phone down and I'm doing other things. And by the time I think of it again, I pick my phone back up and I look at the calendar and I know an hour ago I said I did laundry. Okay, so what did I do for the past hour?
This is so good. This inventory, I've done this like time tracking. And when I go to write it down, it's very hard to write down, I scrolled Instagram for 30 minutes. And then you're like, oh, wait.
It's the worst chastising ever. Like, oh my God, okay. And you do it to yourself. And the good thing about it is that doesn't require a coach. It doesn't require a mentor. You can do that yourself. And then you can kick yourself in the pants. Like, I did have more time. I really could have got that email out. I did have more time. I could have worked on my freebie. I did have more time. I could have did a pre-recorded yoga class and sold it.
Right.
Yeah. So when we think about that, it kind of puts us in a point where we're taking that, and it's that cause and effect thing, right? We move from this things happen to me to I am the reason things happen. And that's how we manifest exactly what we want. That's how we find the time. That's how we manifest the happiness. That's how we attract the new people on our email list or the new followers on Instagram. It is literally about knowing it, making it clear, and working towards it and making it happen in anything that you want. Know it. Have some clarity. Make those clear steps. Take the action and do it. And just believe that it's going to happen. And you can literally manifest anything you want.
That's amazing.
I'm happy enough to believe that I can just do everything in the world in a day. And I get so much done. My husband's like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, yeah, but it's pretty cool. I like it.
One other listener here is saying so much mom guilt. So I want to touch on this because whether it's we're a mom, a parent, or maybe we have some guilt in our business, like, oh, I just scrolled on social media and didn't get anything done, or I didn't hit that goal that I hit. This guilt that we feel, do you have some tips around that?
Mindfulness. That's it. You got to be in the moment, because the truth of the matter is, I blew the last hour. Oh my God, I blew it. I totally threw it away. I can't go back. I can't hop in a time machine and go back. So there's really no point in spending any of the next few minutes of the next hour worrying about the last hour, because I've still got things that I need to do. So give yourself grace. And that comes with loving on yourself. And it comes from positive self-talk. Like, literally affirm who you are each day. Today is going to go exactly the way that it should. Today is going to be great. I'm going to have all that I want. My clients love me. My classes are filled to the brim. I have 100 new people on my email list. And when we affirm all of this, we get rid of some of that guilt, because we're human. We're not perfect. I had some technical issues with a class a couple of weeks ago, and my husband had to get on me because for 20 minutes after, I was like, I can't believe it happened. He's like, babe, it wasn't your fault. It was technology. And he's like, and you're still crying about it, and you can fix it. Like, just stop crying and do what you need to do to fix it. And I'm like, you're right. And the truth of it is, we want to always blame ourselves. We live and we know where that anxiety and depression is when we dwell on things in the past. Anxiety comes when we fret about things in the future. If we stay in the moment, we don't have to worry about all of that, because we're just going to be like, okay, I can deal with what's in front of me right now, and I'm going to stay here. And whatever comes up after that, I'll deal with it when it comes. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. So that's my solution for the mommy guilt. And the same thing happens with guilt when you're business, I used to have a lot of guilt with my husband when I first started my home business, because I felt like I was always on my phone. So you find a solution for that. And part of that solution came from finding my system. It came from finding my system, because I realized my husband needs time too. My kids I need time too. And that's why on Sundays, the only thing I do is plan, because that's my self-care day. I take a bubble bath. I watch a show with my husband. I make pizza with the kids. And this balance helps with the guilt, because we're understanding that we are human, and we're reminding ourselves, I'm human. I'm not perfect, right? We're imperfectly perfect. And those imperfections make us relatable. And it makes you a better business person too, because you don't look perfect. Nobody wants anyone to look perfect, because then they just feel bad.
Oh, that's so good. I love how you shared that you also get into a place where you're feeling, that guilt or feeling things that don't feel great in that moment. I know that I was realizing about a month ago while I was doing my to-do list, my task list. I love planning. I plan on Sundays like you for the whole week, and then I plan the night before for the next day.
Yep.
Really quick. And I do some journaling in the morning, and that really helps me to keep on track. But what I noticed, what was happening, and Amanda McKinney got to hear part of this, is she called me one day on Voxer. We send little messages back and forth, and she said to me, I got so much done today. And in that moment, I realized that the message that I was playing over and over to myself was, I didn't get enough done today. So instead of really focusing on the things that I got done and being mindful of yes, check that off the list, check that off the list. And also the mindfulness of staying on the list, because I might see something else and think, I need to do that right now. Oh, right. That wasn't one of the top priorities today on my list. So I appreciate that mindfulness is really the answer. And especially as a busy mom, I know that if I can just sit and be present in the room with my kids, and my kids are teens and older, so they don't always want the same level of attention that a younger child would want. Their attention needs change. But if I'm just there and really in that moment, it can help to ease that guilt. So thank you for that.
That mindfulness. And we often forget, because our minds are wired to think in a negative way. It takes more action to shift that to positivity. And so and actually I'll give you guys a freebie later on today. I'll drop the link in the comments. The freebie for my one book, it's self-talk habits. And we talk about the 12 habits that bring up negative self-talk. And one of those is this idea of I'm not doing enough. And if we shift that to, I was able to do one thing, right? I have 12 things on my list to do today. And some of those take an hour to do. Some of them take 2 minutes to do. And so I'm really going to beat myself up because I didn't finish all 12 things on here when I actually finished 4. And those 4 took 2 hours to do. No, thank you. I did a great job. Let me just pat myself on the back. And it comes from this self-love, you guys. The way that you talk to yourself changes everything. I tell myself, I'm going to knock off half of the stuff on my to-do list today. I'm going to update my website. It's going to be perfect and purty by the end of the day. And when we affirm these things, it helps us to believe it. And subconsciously, because we believe it, it happens. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And that is with everything in life. If you think you can't handle it, if you think you've got too much going on and you don't have the time management and you're procrastinating, guess what? That's what you're going to do. If you think I can handle this, I can do all things. I can make a whole pizza from scratch and then host 12 yoga videos. And hey, sounds crazy, but when you affirm it, this confidence comes with this power comes with it. And you're like, nah, I'm going to get that done because you told yourself you're going to. And so that plays a part in it as well. It's this idea of being in the moment and loving on yourself. So I would say maybe mindfulness and loving on yourself, self-love, positive self-talk, and being in the moment. That's literally how you can overcome any type of guilt that you feel.
This is so good. This is a key takeaway. If we can practice one thing this week, we could practice being mindful. We already know how to do that. We're practicing it all the time as yoga teachers. And then let's try and give ourselves some self-love as we're working through things and just notice. It's always that notice, be aware, and see what those messages are. Amanda's saying that word enough. Knowing what enough is can be super powerful, but when we think we haven't done enough, it can really hinder our progress. This is so true. It's that mindset.
I love that Amanda said that. Let me just key in for that one moment. I actually, just a personal story. In 2019, I had my last daughter, the fourth baby. And I kind of was not expecting her. So I hit this point where I'm like, I'm not ready to be pregnant. So I dealt with a lot in my pregnancy. And then, of course, postpartum, I dealt with a lot. And I almost kind of sat in hermit mode for almost a full year. I didn't do anything with my businesses. I kind of showed up here and there. And I kind of beat myself up a lot about that. And it's funny because I had a mentor with It Works, and she gave us all these words on these little keychains. And my word for the year was enough. And I looked at it in two different ways. And at the beginning of the year, I looked at it in one way. And then at the end of the year, I looked at it another way. And it's enough of not feeling like I'm enough. Enough of that. I've had enough of feeling like I'm not worthy, like I'm not capable, like I'm not powerful enough, like my flaws make me less of a person. They make me more of a person. And so that idea of having enough, of not thinking that you're enough, made a major change for me. And again, that word enough, it can be seen so many different ways. We can have a negative connotation with it. Am I doing enough? Or we can make it positive. I am doing enough. Right? Just a simple shift of the words in that. Am I doing enough? I am doing enough. And there's so much power that comes with I am. My name on all social media platforms is I am Dawn Vason. People are like, why do you do that? It's I am Dawn Vason because each time I announce who I am affirming who I am exactly the way that I am, with my crazy, silly self and all my crazy kids and crazy colors and crazy wigs and everything that I do. I'm affirming who I am. And there's a power that comes with owning who you are, flaws and all. So enough of not thinking you're enough. You are enough. Everything that you need is within you. It's just a matter of how resourceful we're going to be.
I love this so much that you switched it, because I was completely thinking about like, I am enough. But this idea of like drawing a line in the sand and being like, okay, that's enough. That is really good.
Because that's the difference between cause and effect. When we say, am I enough? Why are we questioning? Am I enough? Well, we need someone else's validation for that. And we do. We think we do, but we don't. I don't need you to tell me that I'm enough. Why question, am I enough? Say, I am enough. The strength that comes with that statement versus the question. And you take power of what it is that you do. So you go from a place of things happen to me to I make things happen. And that includes I make my day work for me. I make this balance happen. I make all of my success. And that's where the shift comes. I love it.
I'm wondering, you talked about your morning routine. Can you give us some tips if we're feeling like, oh gosh, I don't have that morning routine or that self-care routine? You mentioned not having your phone near you. Like maybe someone's listening and they're thinking, I'm glued to my phone like at night and then again in the morning. Tell us a baby step towards forming that self-care routine.
So there's a really good one in what you just said. Realize what you're giving excuses for. And if you say, I can't give it up, that's a key indicator you need to give it up. Because that's the first thing I said. I can't not sleep with my phone next to me. What if somebody calls me in the middle of the night and they need me? Girl, shut up. Don't nobody need you. You got a voicemail. So it comes from this owning. I keep making excuses for it. So there's a problem there. And think about that. When you start to think of the things that you can eliminate for a better morning or add to for a better morning, and if you start to give these excuses, it's probably something you should really do. I don't have time to meditate. You need to meditate. Oh, I don't have time to do asana practice. You probably should do your asana practice. All of the things that we say we don't have time for, those are the things you need to make time for. So I'll say that first. That's my first tip. Find out what it is that you're giving those excuses for, because And you want to pay attention to when you use the word because. I can't do that because there comes your excuse. I can't not sleep with my phone at night because I need to know what goes on first thing in the morning. Do you really? Or can you really spare 5 minutes? And it takes 5 minutes of silence in the morning. You don't need more than that. I'm not saying put your phone away for 3 hours. Just 5 minutes before you go get it. Make yourself get up and walk across the hall to get it. Make yourself, and we sleep with it by our bed, right? Like, I know come on, you guys. We sleep with it like charging right on our nightstand table, right next to the bed. Put it on the other side of the room. Make yourself at least have time to breathe, have a couple breaths, and then get up and then walk and go get your phone. Even that slight change will do it. And it's baby steps, you guys, because it takes a lot to implement new habits. Don't try to do too many at once because it's just overload, right? We can only do one or two things at a time. So maybe start with, I would suggest, if nothing else, find another place for your phone to wake up. When you wake up, please don't let your phone be the first thing you see. You're automatically bombarding yourself with negativity. We don't realize that, but even the screen light, we are instantly bombarding ourselves with anxiety and stress and all of these things. First thing in the morning, get rid of your phone. That's my first tip. Put it somewhere else so you've got 5 minutes of quiet before you touch it. And then my second tip is just implement one good thing. I would definitely say journaling. I love journaling. I don't know if you guys have ever read or come across the book Morning Pages. It's awesome, right? And it's this idea of you just wake up and you write and you don't think about anything. And I struggled with morning pages at first because I was like, well, what do I write? And all of my writing ended up being to-do list. I was like, Lord, this ain't right. This is not how this is supposed to be done. And so I had to switch. Again, this idea of calibrating what works for me. I have to listen to playful music when I do morning pages. If I don't listen to playful music, my mind will take me to my to-do list and all of the things that I have to do. But if I listen to playful music, I have more fun with it. Maybe I'll talk about unicorns and lily pads and things like that don't make sense to anyone else. But those would be my biggest tips. Find another place for your phone to be in the morning. And if you don't have to, if you do not have a need in your life to wake up to an alarm, don't do it. Don't do it. Delete all of your alarms. If you have the type of life where you don't need an alarm, for God's sake, please get rid of the alarm. It is jarring. It is ripping you out of your beautiful slumber, and it is ruining your day before you even have a chance to get your bearings.
Is there anything else that has helped you, Dawn, in creating balance between, yourself, your own connection with yourself, your yoga practice, your business, your kids, your husband, and all of the other parts of your life? Like, what brings you back to balance?
Journaling. The way that I deal with my shortcomings, I don't usually speak and acknowledge them that way, but I will acknowledge it in my journal as a past tense thing. Like earlier today, I felt a little off, but yeah, that wasn't worthy because I know I actually did like 6 things on my list. So I feel good about it now. So I actually journal in the morning and then I journal in the evening. I journal in the morning with my morning pages, just to do something meditative in the morning. And then in the evening, and I actually keep my evening journal in my business planner because I'm kind of take inventory of what it is that happened that day. And in that end of the day journaling, I always include a gratitude success question. But it's just different questions that I ask myself. How did I make myself proud today? Who do I love and who loves me? And it's this idea of this gratitude at the end of the day, because things don't always go the way that we want, but we always have something to be thankful for. And I think that started to really come up when my husband had his brain aneurysm. Here I am with a 26-year-old husband who just had a stroke, for the lack of a better word. And my life completely changed. He had to relearn everything. And it was, well, we've just got to navigate this. So let me think about what I'm thankful for. And so that's what I would suggest for dealing with all of that, dealing with the emotions, finding the balance, finding the peace, practicing self-care, and still having this idea of success. Even though this is my personal life, there's this idea of success that comes with being an entrepreneur that we always kind of want to keep focus on. And that's what keeps us focused in that balance between the success and the self-care. Because as an entrepreneur, we must take care of ourselves. As a mama, as a person, we must take care of ourselves because we cannot pour from an empty cup. And these are the ways that we fill our cup up and make sure that we are constantly recalibrating to find the balance that otherwise we would not find.
That's so good. Okay, so how can people work with you?
So if you'd like to find me, my website is JaviWellness.com. And if you go to JaviWellness, I've got a couple of different things there. So for number one, I do have a wealth and wellness community for women. So if you are a woman, please hop on over to JaviWellness.com, click community in the menu. In addition to that, if you go to JaviWellness.com, you can also see where I host any events. On my yoga page, I do actually have a library now where I do yoga classes and I also do workshops. And then I do have an affordable life coaching version through Patreon. So if you go to JaviWellness.com/membership, you can actually see all of the tiers that I have there. And I've got all kinds of goodies. Like I give away free ebooks, we do free classes. And then I am on all social media platforms at I am Dawn Vason. So that's Instagram, Twitter. My YouTube is also I am Dawn Vason. And on Facebook, you can usually find me on my JaviWellness page. Or feel free to follow me or friend request me. I don't know if I can add very many more friends, but please follow me. I'd love to have you there in the comments.
This is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all of this today. I feel like sometimes we have guests who are like the cheerleaders that if you are having a rough day or you're feeling kind of stuck in your business, that's the episode to go back and listen to. And I feel like this is going to be one of those. Thank you so much, Dawn.
You are so welcome. It was lovely, lovely, lovely hanging out with you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Thank you for all of this amazing information. I had some key takeaways here that I wanted to really just say thanks for sharing these and also to highlight them for our Connected Yoga Teacher listeners. Now, if you had things that really caught your attention, I would love to hear from you in the show notes. If you go to theconnectedyogateacher.com/213, tell us what really resonated with this episode today, or what are some of the things that you do for your own work-life balance. Share that in the comments at the bottom of the page. And if you have more questions, which I love questions, share them in our Facebook group. It's called the Connected Yoga Teacher Group. And you can find that by going to theconnectedyogateacher.com and clicking on the join button right on our homepage. So one of my key takeaways in this episode and this idea that I've been really rolling around in my mind since I talked with Dawn is balance is not a destination, but instead a journey. So it's never like we get there and we've just discovered all there is about work-life balance, but instead it's a journey that we're all on together. And I also have been looking at how to implement this idea that Dawn shared: systems work better than schedules and goals alone. And I've been playing with this in my own life in looking at, okay, I know one of my goals is to get outside daily, but instead I kind of implemented it as a system or a routine where I have this set routine, this set system that I do in the morning. And then it's almost like it's just automatic for me to get outside for my walk before I start my workday. There are a couple of other things that I really do when planning out my week. One of them, I have to give a shout out to Renee Claire for telling me that she does this. I no longer plan anything for the upcoming week beyond that Sunday. So if someone asks me, can you do something, and they're asking me for the week that I'm in, I just say, oh, this week is full, and how about next week? Because what I end up doing otherwise is I just pack so much into a week, more than I can actually accomplish. And then I write out every Sunday or sometime over the weekend my full view of the week on one page so that I can just see, okay, what are the big appointments? What are the big things I'm doing here that cannot be moved around? And Dawn also talked about this, so I would encourage you to look at your calendar and see, am I just filling it with all kinds of ideas? What are the big things that I cannot move around? And then what do I really want to fit into the pockets around those? While you're looking at your calendar, you might want to mark down a couple of things where we get to actually hang out together in real time on Zoom. One of them is a pelvic girdle pain workshop. So if your yoga students or you are dealing with hip or low back pain or pelvic pain, this is a workshop to make sure that you attend. Now, if you're listening in real time, it's actually less money if you sign up and join Pelvic Health Professionals, and then this workshop is included in your membership. So I would say do that. It's almost half the price then. If you buy the workshop alone, it's $47 US. If you join Pelvic Health Professionals before the end of this month, before the end of March, it's $29 US per month. So visit pelvichealthprofessionals.com to learn more. If the workshop is over and done with, so the live workshop is on April the 7th, if that's over and done with, not to worry, there is a replay and you can still access it by going to pelvichealthprofessionals.com. Also, near the end of April, we are doing a sketching yoga sequences with Evalata Lamb, who we heard recently on the podcast. I am super excited about this, not because I'm known for my drawing or my art skills, but because I really know the power of drawing things out or writing things out in terms of how I learn, process things, and then can communicate ideas. And this is what Evalata really brings to this workshop. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's on a Friday. I feel like it's a great way to hang out and visit with each other and have some fun drawing. Thank you so much for being here. I know that if you took the time to listen to today's episode, it's because you're looking for that work-life balance. And it means so much that you fit this podcast and time for you into that. I want to know, before I sign off, what will you be doing this week to stay connected to yourself, your yoga practice, and to your community so that you can share the yoga that lights you up?